It seems like everywhere you turn these days, there's someone telling you to go digital to be more productive.
Right.
Like, get the latest app or gadget and you'll be on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. Uh, I've noticed this really interesting trend.
Okay.
Paper planners, they're making a comeback in a big way.
Yeah, that's so true.
Even in like the business world,
Yeah, sure.
where everything is supposed to be super fast-paced and tech-driven.
Yeah, you'd think we'd all be on like holograms by now.
Right. So in this deep dive, we're going to try to unpack this whole paper planner phenomenon a little bit.
Sounds good.
We're going to be looking at excerpts from this article. It's called The Paper Planner Comeback, Analog Productivity in a Digital World.
Okay.
It's by Leo Shia, who's actually the CEO of Lion Paper Products, a company that specializes in custom notebooks and planners.
Interesting.
But before we dive into that, I want to ask you something.
Dear.
Have you ever, like, sat down to work on your computer, all set to be super productive?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Got your to-do list app open, maybe,
Mhm.
and then, like, 20 minutes later, you realize you've just been scrolling through social media.
Oh, all the time. Or like down a rabbit hole of emails.
Yes, like the digital version of getting lost in the fridge.
Totally. And it's not just us. I mean, the American Psychological Association did a study and found that 56% of workers say that digital distractions are their biggest barrier to productivity.
56%. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
So that kind of begs the question,
Uh-huh.
if digital tools are supposed to be so great for productivity,
Mm-hmm.
why are so many people turning back to paper?
It's funny, right? You think technology would solve all these problems, but it seems like for a lot of people, it's actually part of the problem.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like paper, there were no notifications, no pop-ups.
Just you and the page.
Exactly. And I've even heard that people tend to remember things better when they write them down by hand.
Oh, there's definitely some truth to that.
Really?
Yeah, there is this study from the University of Tokyo where they found that people who use paper planners tend to report lower stress levels and better focus.
Interesting.
And there's even research from Princeton showing that students who take notes by hand do better on tests than those who type their notes.
Wow, so there's actually something about the physical act of writing that helps our brains process information better.
Seems like it.
Okay, so that's definitely a point in favor of paper.
Right.
But I can already hear some people out there saying,
But what about convenience?
exactly. Digital tools are just so much more convenient and flexible.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So how do you respond to that?
Well, I think it's important to remember that paper actually offers a different kind of flexibility.
Okay, how so?
Well, with the paper planner, you're not limited by the features of a specific app. You can doodle, you can sketch, you can create your own unique system that really works for you.
So it's more about personalization.
Exactly.
You can make it your own.
Yeah, in a way that you just can't with most digital tools.
That makes sense. I'm starting to see the appeal.
Right.
And there's also something to be said for the visual aspect of a paper planner,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Like being able to physically see your goals and your progress laid out in front of you.
It's so satisfying to like cross things off the list.
Yes. There's something so tangible about it.
And I think that visual overview can be really motivating.
Yeah, I can see that. So, okay. I'm starting to get on board with this whole paper planner thing.
Yeah.
But isn't there a danger of going too far in the other direction? You know?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like, what about those things that digital is really good for?
Right.
Like sharing calendars and collaborating on projects.
Exactly. It's not about like throwing away your phone and living in a Luddite commune.
Right.
It's about finding the right balance.
Okay, so hybrid approach.
Exactly. You use the best tool for the job.
But what does that actually look like in practice? I mean, how are people actually making this work?
So think about it this way. You could use your digital calendar for like scheduling meetings and appointments. Makes sense.
Because it's easy to share and sync with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But then you could use your paper planner for things like detailed project planning or brainstorming sessions.
Where you need to like really spread out and be more visual.
Right, or for tasks that require really deep focus.
So digital for the things that need to be collaborative or accessible on the go.
Yeah.
And paper for those tasks that require more intentionality and focus.
Exactly.
And you know what I've even found? That the act of transferring information from digital to paper, it can actually help me prioritize things better.
Oh, totally.
Like it forces me to slow down and really think about what's important.
Yeah, it's like a mini mindfulness exercise.
Right. So it's not just about the tools themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about the mindset and the intention behind how you use them.
Absolutely.
Now, you know what's interesting about the article we're looking at today is that it really focuses on custom notebooks and planners.
Yeah, and that makes sense given who wrote it. Right. The author is Leo Shia, and he's the CEO of a company called Lion Paper Products.
I was just thinking about that.
They specialize in these kinds of personalized paper goods.
Which kind of suggests that...
Maybe the future of productivity isn't about trying to fit everyone into the same digital mold,
Right.
but about creating tools that are truly tailored to individual needs and preferences.
Yeah, and the market data seems to support that idea.
Oh, really?
MarketWatch actually predicts that the market for custom notebooks and planners is going to grow by like 5.4% every year between now and 2028.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, especially when you consider how dominant digital tools have become.
Okay, so we've got anecdotal evidence, scientific research, and now even market trends, all pointing to this paper planner resurgence.
It's a real phenomenon.
But what's the takeaway for someone listening to this?
Mm.
Someone who's maybe a little skeptical or hesitant to give paper a try.
I think the biggest thing is just don't be afraid to experiment. Challenge your assumptions about what a productivity system should look like.
Right.
If you're feeling overwhelmed by digital distractions or just struggling to stay focused, maybe incorporating a paper planner, even just for certain tasks, could be a game changer.
Yeah, I'm actually starting to think about areas in my own work where a paper planner could be helpful.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Like brainstorming sessions, for example.
Oh, that's a good one.
It would be great to have a dedicated space to jot down ideas and map out concepts.
Without the temptation to check email or get sidetracked by a notification.
Exactly. And that's what I like about this whole idea.
Yeah.
It's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right.
It's about recognizing the limitations of our devices and finding tools that complement our natural ways of working and thinking.
It's about reclaiming control over our productivity.
Instead of feeling controlled by technology.
And maybe in the process, rediscovering the simple joy of putting pen to paper.
And engaging with our work in a more tangible, mindful way.
Yeah.
Now that brings up a really interesting question. So we've been talking about all these benefits of paper planners, and especially the custom ones.
Right.
It really got me thinking, like, what would my ideal custom planner look like?
Oh, that's fun.
Like, if you could design a planner from scratch, what would you include?
That's a good question.
It probably starts with figuring out what areas of your life feel the most, like, chaotic or disorganized.
Right.
Like, where do you feel the most friction?
Yeah. Are you trying to juggle a million projects at work, or are you feeling like your personal goals are getting lost in the shuffle?
Exactly. And once you've kind of identified those pain points,
Yeah.
you can start to think about how a custom planner could actually address them.
Yeah, like maybe you need a dedicated space for brainstorming and mind mapping.
Oh, yeah.
Or a system for tracking your progress towards those long-term goals you were talking about.
And then there's like the layout.
Yeah.
Would you go with daily, weekly, or monthly spreads?
I'm a big fan of weekly spreads myself.
Me too. I like seeing the whole week at a glance.
Yeah, it gives you a good overview.
But I think it really depends on your personal preferences and how you like to organize your time.
Oh, for sure. Some people need the structure of like a daily to-do list,
Right.
while others prefer a more flexible approach with just weekly or monthly overviews.
And then there's the whole aesthetic aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Would you keep it minimalist and functional? Or would you go all out with like colors, stickers, washi tape?
That's where it gets really fun, I think. It's like
Yeah.
some people prefer a clean and streamlined look,
Yeah.
but others see their planner as like a creative outlet,
Oh,
a
totally.
way to express their personality.
I'm actually picturing a planner that's kind of a hybrid,
Okay, I like it.
like a clean and functional layout for all my work tasks and appointments, but then a separate section that's more for personal goals and creative brainstorming,
Ooh,
with maybe some splashes of color and inspiration thrown in,
I love that.
like a productivity tool that's also a reflection of your personality and your aspirations.
Yeah, and that's really what this whole conversation is about.
It is.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
It's not about following someone else's rules
Right.
or trying to fit into some predetermined mold of productivity.
It's about giving ourselves permission to experiment,
Yes,
to play around with different approaches,
exactly.
and create a system that actually supports our own individual needs and goals.
And who knows, maybe in the process,
Yeah.
we'll discover a new sense of focus and clarity, and maybe even a little bit of joy in the everyday act of planning and organizing our lives.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the science behind handwriting to the surprising comeback of paper planners in this digital world.
It's been fun.
It has. But the real takeaway here is don't be afraid to challenge the status quo.
Right.
Experiment with different tools and strategies,
Yeah.
and ultimately find what helps you do your best work, whatever that may look like. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find yourself reaching for a pen and paper a little more often,
Yeah.
rediscovering the power of analog in a world that's increasingly digital.
It's a good feeling.
Until next time,
Yeah.
happy planning.